Mr. T. Muralidharan, the TMI Group Chairman, and my boss. Mr. Murali is a graduate from IIT Chennai and IIM Ahmedabad. He's called TMD. I call him TMD. He's a futuristic thinker whose every move comes with a long-term perspective. His brainchild, visionary by nature, he has been a thought leader in the HR space in India with regular publications in respective newspapers and popular journals. Currently, he is passionately involved in various central and state government ministries and departments in India to improve awareness about the future of work and how things need to change at policy level for making the country future ready and ensure youth are skilled to pick up jobs. Murli has first-hand knowledge on automation and recruiting, with having designed the web-based and mobile-based ATS to further TMI's recruiting business. Besides working, TMD likes to write. So he has been published twice, and we await for his third book, a handbook on recruitment. So over to you, TMD.
Thank you, Rajani.
Your questions for today, TMD, are considering the increase in the number of job loss, there's a potential increase in the number of applicants per job opening. So in this situation, how can AI, ML, and RPA help organizations? Over to you, TMD.
Yeah, thank you so much, Rajani. I think my proposition for today is very, very different in the sense that I believe recruiters' role in recruiting cannot go away. In fact, it will scale up. That's my first starting proposition. And I want to give 5 real life examples. First example is about how important is recruiting, or how important is a job search for a candidate. We were doing a lot of employer brand advertising, and somebody asked me the difference between appointment ads, or what we call recruitment ads, and a product ad or a consumer ad, let's say a soap ad. And my answer was, they're very, very different, because when you see a soap ad, all his expectation is to go and buy a soap. And therefore, it's all about investing 25 rupees or 50 rupees of money. But when you see a recruitment ad, you're going to spend 2 years of your life, 3 years of your life. So it better be different. You cannot replicate. In fact, it has to be far more deeper, far more factual, and so on and so forth. So recruiting as a function is far more difficult, far more deeper than selling a soap or selling any sales process as one. This is one point. The second point is actually my story. We were talking about AI and algorithm. I got a call, a message and a call from Standard Chartered Bank about 15 years ago, and they said that you are one of the creamiest of the creamiest. You went to IIT Madras, you went to IIM Ahmedabad, so we have decided to give you a credit card. It's a platinum credit card without any process. So we are sending it to you. Just please apply. And I applied, and I got a message, you're not suitable. I got a shock of my life. What is this? You only invited me. You're saying you're not suitable. We don't know why, because an algorithm was applying its mind on what my candidature is. Maybe he didn't like the name Muralidharan or the name initial T. We don't know. So there is a risk associated with automation, and this is a good example. Now, in the context of recruiting, again, we must understand, all of us know the alpha and beta error. Alpha error is about hiring the wrong guy, and the beta error is missing the right guy. Now, in any algorithm, AI, it's quite possible, like what Raj mentioned, to study the post-recruiting impact. For example, you hired a lot of wrong guys. So you realize they get kicked out, or their residency in the company reduces, and therefore you can correlate people's performance on the job and correlate with some recruiting characteristics. For example, the commonality among their personality, persona, what Raj mentioned. But the bigger problem is beta error. Losing a good guy, you never know, right? You have no data inside the company about what would have happened if you had hired this guy. And actually, that's where AI should play a role, because AI could today track where this guy is today, 4 years. In fact, somebody asked me, how do you find out? I said, come on, use your common sense. Just go to LinkedIn and find out where the guy 3 years later is. And 3 years later, some of the people you rejected might be in a better company than your company. You better ask yourself the question, how come you went to a better company, perform better than what you did in my company? Maybe something wrong with my assessment process. So the third point is about recruiting becoming, we should be worried about beta error, and therefore AI should play an error, not in hiring the wrong people, but missing out the right guys. The fourth and fifth are very peculiar to India. I think this is where the difference in AI ML model about US or Singapore, for example, and extrapolation to India. There are two things about Indians. Indians go to recruiting process as a game. The entire forecast is how do I beat the system? How do I put the keyword? And we have a lot of experts now in the country who tell you, I will write your resume. I'll use your power words. And we have had some interesting experience with a guy, one of the guys we interviewed for a senior position, and this guy was resume said he's a energetic guy and he's a power hungry guy or whatever achiever. And the way he walked into the room, there's something wrong with that guy. There's something very different from what we saw in the resume. We asked him, he said, no, I gave it to, I don't want to name that particular job board. I gave it to them. They rewrote the resume. Right? So in India, it's about a game. So the real knowledge of AI is not understanding what he has written. It's all about what he has not written. I think is where the real game is. And that's why I think when TMI wants to work, let's say with Zopa or anybody else in developing a solution, is to find out what he's not telling you. Right? Because, for example, a career break or a part-time MBA, or many people when they write, I passed out of this university, I know immediately it worked out, the college name is not going to reveal, and therefore there's something behind that, right? So you would read in between the lines, and that I think is an important aspect of that. The last one I want to tell you, the fifth one, is about the predictability. It's very important for companies to understand that any kind of algorithms that we develop, for example, psychometrics is a good example. We use psychometrics in analytics. When we hire senior positions, we ask them to go through some analysis. But we never do go, no-go decisions. Because even in the US, it is not acceptable to do a go, no-go decision based on psychometric because the probability is about 50%, which is as good as tossing the coin. So the question we need to ask is, how do we use AI ML to supplement the recruiter's role? I think that is my starting point of this entire statement. So the anxiety should not be about losing a job. The anxiety is, how do I learn to be a friend of automation? How do I learn to understand automation and right on top of that to provide insights? Now, there are two important aspects where a recruiter can play a role, which I think it's not got enough attention in India. The first one is three types of assessment which are not there right now. One is called intention to attend an interview. Today, in many of the job roles, our attendance scheduling to attend interviews sometimes is 1:2, 2:1. For two people we hire, we schedule, one guy turns up. Now, it's a very surprise to me that you come for a job, you fill up a form, I invite you to the interview, you don't turn up. What does it mean? It means something about the way we process the candidate. So intention to attend an interview. The second one is called intention to join the company. Like I said, if the gaming, if a person is coming as a game, his intention is, let me get the offer and let me apply my mind. That's a typical Indian mindset. So what they will do, they'll go to the interview, get an offer, and then unfortunately, if they don't want to join the company, the grandmother will die. And suddenly they'll come back and say, my grandmother died, I'm not joining the company. I had cases of CEOs coming and giving me an excuse on the due date. They're supposed to join 1 week before. They'll come back and say, my family, somebody is seriously ill. I said, so, no, I don't know. Then 1 week later, you will not join the company saying my grandmother died. So intention to join is an important aspect. The third aspect is intention to stay. Now, how do we develop predictive models of these three dimensions are very, very, very crucial. And those predictive models cannot work automatically. The recruiters have to play a role. Now, this is where I'm coming to the key point of this entire my submission. The skill set will move away from talking to people, making 25 calls and trying to head on somebody to make assessments. Now, assessments is in the realm of psychology. Like I said, with people, what they don't write to you, what they don't tell you is the truth. Similarly, when you call a candidate, how do you listen to the candidate, what he is not saying? How do you probe those questions? How AI and ML can give me a leading question which I can ask based on the resume in front of me. That is the game I see. So recruiter's role will not go away. It will have to scale up. Now, it is in this context, the first one is considering the increase in number of jobs, there's a potential increase in number of applicants. No, I think that is not true. The potential applicants are only in the aspirational job. And I think many of you know the number of jobs in the market in India. I can speak only about India. Probably 1 in 10 jobs are aspirational. 9 out of 10 jobs are not aspirational. Only IT industry, for example, and that too in specific aspects of IT. But 90% of the jobs in India are not aspirational. So the number of applicants is a random applications coming. So your job is to do the elimination round more efficiently. So I don't think that the AI/ML can help in the elimination round to some extent to make sure that there's a correlation between the alpha and beta based on the past selections what you got. So you're continuously learning from your right selection and wrong selection, the right selection from within the company data, wrong selection from outside the company data, and how do you build data to improve your pre-selection? That's the question. What are the strategies organizations need to remain flexible and embrace change? Now, here in this context, I think the organization, you mean a recruiting organization, right, Rajani?
Yes.
Yeah. So I think TMI is a good example. The first thing I tell people is that the day you think you know, you're fired. You know nothing. You start with the assumption you know nothing. Because people are smarter than you. For every one recruiter, there are 100 guys trying to beat you. They're trying to get edgeways. They want to beat you to get the job into the interview process. And I can tell you only one good example of this, how smart people are. We were hiring for a company, and there's one guy who comes one day before the interview, and he meets our vice president. And he takes my vice president for dinner, and he asks him, who are they going to be on the panel? And my vice president tells him who are the panel. Then he asks him, what does Mr. Muralidharan like the most? So he's got all the dope on me. And then when the interview date, first thing when I come and meet him, he tells me, Muralidharan, I all know all about you. And he gives me some gyan. And finally asks me, sir, can you give me some tips for the interview? I said, that's a humorous piece because I'm going to assess you. You're asking me for tips from me just before the interview. Now, I'm talking about a CEO hiring, right? This guy is a smart guy. He became a super short, successful guy later on. My point is, if you think you are smart, the guy, applicant is smarter than you. So therefore, we need to go with the humility to be flexible. We should be continuously looking for more and more analytics, more and more statistical base for whatever judgment calls you are making, and bring in your intuition at all points of time to combine with this to supplement what the analytics show you. The last piece is how do you use technology to organize and engage talent to prepare for the future of work? That's a very, very tough thing because future of work is all about how you do things. For example, a recruiter, I gave an example. You have to recognize that you will be working with some bot. Right now, the bot is a software bot, so we don't have a face. Tomorrow, it could be somebody looking like you, sitting next to you, and it could be a male or a female. It will have a humanoid face, and then you'll be conversing and they're doing that humanoid might give you some advice about this candidate resume that you see. So the question, as far as the future of work is concerned, and recruiting especially, you have to get ready for a second opinion on what you think. If you think that I know it, I have a better judgment, then you are in trouble. Your query is, oh my God, how did you come to that conclusion? Tell me your data. How did you get the data? Oh my God, I didn't know this. Okay, let me apply my mind. So I always say in interviews, the most important job of a recruiter is to frame the right question. If you ask the wrong question or you don't ask the right question, candidate is not going to tell you anything. So our job becomes more and more valuable using the data, using AI/ML. And then, like I said, I conclude by saying our main job will not go away as long as you keep our ears and mind open to discuss, discover, explore what he is not telling you. Thank you.